Pretend you passed out. We have to run, now." Those were the words my husband whispered in my ear in the middle of my own anniversary party. 40 years of marriage. 40 years that my children said they wanted to celebrate with us. I was smiling. I was moved to tears, until I felt Walter's hand gripping my arm with a strength I had never known him to possess. And then I heard his trembling voice. "Look under the table, but don't make a sound." When I looked down and saw what was there, I understood that a party can destroy an entire family. My name is Rose Miller. I am 62 years old, and this story I am about to tell you changed my life forever. I don't know if I did the right thing by running away that night. I still ask myself if I should have stayed and confronted them right there, in front of all the guests. But in that moment, my heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. The only thing I knew was that my own children had set a trap for us. Walter and I got married in January of 1985. I was 21, he was 25. We met at the neighborhood church in the suburbs of Chicago. He played guitar in the choir. I sold homemade pies and cookies with my mother on Sundays after the service. I remember the day he asked me to marry him. It was at the farmer's market, right in front of the flower stall. He gave me a bouquet of white carnations and said, "Rose, I want to build a life with you. I don't have much, but I have hands to work and a heart that beats only for you." We got married 3 months later. The wedding was simple. My dress was borrowed, but I felt like the happiest woman in the world. 2 years later, William was born a boy with big eyes and a mischievous smile. Walter cried every time he held him. "This boy is going to be someone important," my husband would say. "He's going to have everything I never had." And he kept his word. Walter worked as a construction laborer for years. We saved every dollar. We bought a small plot of land on the outskirts of the city, back when it was still semi-rural. We built our house with our own hands, brick by brick, stud by stud. 3 years after William, Felicity arrived. A beautiful girl with black hair and a strong character. From a young age, she was determined. She always knew what she wanted. I raised them with love. I taught them to pray before bed. I made them iced tea and fresh pastries every afternoon. I told them stories about my grandmother. I gave them everything I could, and they grew. William studied business administration. Felicity studied accounting. Walter and I were so proud. We sold a piece of our land to pay for their college tuition. "You are going to have what we never had," Walter would tell them. "You are going to live better." And they did live better. William got a job at a major corporation. He married a woman from a wealthy family. They had 2 children and moved to an upscale gated community. Felicity opened her own CPA firm. She also married and had a daughter. We stayed in our house, the same one we built with our hands, with its patio full of flower pots and a kitchen that always smelled of fresh coffee. Walter opened a small engine repair shop in the garage. I worked from home, doing alterations and sewing for the neighbors. We weren't rich, but we had enough, and we had our peace of mind. The years passed. William and Felicity visited us every now and then, always in a rush, always with their phones in their hands. But I understood. They had their own lives, their own responsibilities. I just wanted them to be happy. 3 months ago, Felicity called me. "Mom, we want to do something special for you and Dad. You're coming up on 40 years of marriage, right?" "Yes, honey, in December." "Well, we want to organize a surprise party, but it has to be a real surprise, okay? Don't tell Dad anything." I was so moved I almost cried. "Oh, honey, you don't have to do that. Just coming to dinner with us is enough." "No, Mom, you deserve something beautiful. Let us do this for you." I hung up the phone with a full heart. I thought, my children love me. After all, I haven't been wrong. Over the following weeks, Felicity called often. She asked what food I liked, what music, which friends I would want to invite. I answered with joy, giving her ideas, sending her old photos from our wedding. William also called a couple of times. "Mom, we want this party to be perfect. You guys deserve it." I felt loved, valued. I thought that perhaps, after so many years of distance, my children had finally understood how important family is. The day of the party arrived. It was Saturday. Felicity told us she would pick us up at 6 p.m. "We're going to a nice banquet hall. Just the 2 of you first. We'll meet you there." But when we arrived, it wasn't just a dinner. It was a ballroom, decorated with golden balloons and photographs of us. There was a long buffet table full of food. A live band was playing our favorite song, and everyone was there. William, Felicity, their spouses, the grandchildren, some cousins, old neighbors. I stood paralyzed in the entryway. Walter squeezed my hand. "I can't believe they did all this," he whispered. I couldn't believe it either. We walked in. Everyone applauded. The band played. Felicity hugged me. William patted his father on the back. "This is for everything you've done for us," William said with a firm voice. They led us to the head table. They sat Walter and me in the center as if we were the king and queen of the night. Felicity brought 2 glasses of champagne. "A toast to the best parents in the world," she said. Everyone raised their glasses. I had tears in my eyes. I thought, it has all been worth it. But then, something changed. I don't know exactly what it was. Maybe it was the way William looked at Felicity, or the way Felicity checked her watch every 5 minutes, or maybe it was just a feeling. That sensation mothers get when something isn't right. Walter leaned toward me. "Rose, don't drink any more of that. Just listen to me and play along." Before I could ask him what was wrong, he ducked down, and then I saw it under the table, hidden between the legs of the chairs, a thick manila folder with papers inside. Walter took it carefully, opened it just a crack, and I saw the words printed on the first page. Application for involuntary admission to assisted living facility. My name, Walter's name. Signed by William and Felicity as legal guardians. I felt like the air had left the room. Walter closed the folder. He looked me straight in the eyes. "Pretend you passed out. We have to run now. Sometimes we trust too much in those we shouldn't." Have you ever been disappointed by someone you loved? Tell me your story in the comments. I want to read it. I cannot continue with this story without first telling you how we got here, because to understand why my children did what they did, you need to know who Walter and I were. You need to know how we built everything we had, and how, without realizing it, we sowed the seeds of our own betrayal. When we married in January 1985, we had nothing, literally nothing. Walter made about $800 a month working construction. I did laundry for other people and sold baked goods on weekends. We rented a small room in Walter's aunt's house, a tiny room with a window facing the alley. We shared the bathroom with 3 other families, but we were happy. I remember the mornings. Walter would get up before dawn. I would make him fresh coffee and eggs. He would eat, standing up, in a rush. But he always gave me a kiss on the forehead before leaving. "This won't be forever, Rose," he would say. "Someday we're going to have our own house, and you're going to have a big kitchen where you can bake everything you want." And I believed him because Walter was a man of his word. We saved every penny. We didn't go out anywhere. We didn't buy new clothes. We didn't go to the movies. Every month, Walter put half his paycheck into a coffee can we hid under the bed. "This can is our future," he would tell me, and I guarded that can as if it were gold. In 1987, William was born. It was a difficult birth. I was in labor for almost 20 hours. Walter didn't leave my side for a minute. When I finally held my son in my arms, I cried not from pain, not from exhaustion. I cried because I felt my life had meaning. William was a quiet baby. He didn't cry much, but he looked at me with those big eyes as if he understood everything. Walter was obsessed with him. Every night, when he came home from work, he would scrub his hands clean and hold him. He sang songs to him, talked to him as if William could understand. "Son, you're going to be great. You're going to go to college. You're going to have a profession. You won't have to break your back like I do." And from that moment on, everything we did was for them, for William, and later for Felicity. In 1990, Felicity was born. It was an easier pregnancy and a faster birth. Felicity came into the world screaming loudly, with character. From the first day, I knew that girl was going to be different, and I was right. By then, Walter had found a better job. He was still a laborer, but with a union crew, making better money. And finally, we bought our land. It was 1,991, a small plot on the outskirts. It had no utilities, no building, just dirt and rocks, but it was ours, Walter cried the day we signed the papers. "We did it, Rose, we did it." Building the house took us 3 years. Walter worked construction Monday through Friday, and on weekends he built our home. I helped however I could, hauling sand, mixing cement, making food for the friends who came to help. William was 4 years old. Felicity was 1. They played in the dirt while we worked. I remember those days fondly. They were hard, exhausting days, but we were happy because we were building something together. In 1994, we moved into our house. It wasn't finished. It only had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom. The kitchen was an open space with a portable gas stove, but it was ours. The first night we slept there, Walter hugged me in the dark. "Thank you for believing in me," he said, and I replied, "Thank you for giving us a home." The following years were the best of my life. William and Felicity grew up healthy and strong. Walter kept working hard, but now with the peace of mind of knowing we had our own roof. I stayed home, sewing for neighbors, taking care of the kids, cooking, cleaning. Our routine was simple. Walter got up at 5 a.m. I made him coffee and breakfast. The kids got up at 6. I bathed them, dressed them, took them to school. In the afternoons, we did homework together at the kitchen table. I made them lemonade and snacks. At night, the 4 of us ate dinner together always. No TV, no distractions, just us. William was an intelligent boy. He liked to read. He liked to ask questions. "Mom, why is the sky blue? Mom, why do ants walk in a line?" I didn't always know the answers, but I loved seeing him so curious. Felicity was different. She didn't ask, she observed, and from a young age, she knew how to get what she wanted. I remember one day. Felicity was 6. We were at the mall. She saw a doll in a store window, an expensive doll, the kind we couldn't afford. Felicity didn't ask for the doll. She didn't cry. She didn't throw a tantrum. She just stood there looking at it with those big eyes, with that sad face. And when Walter saw her, he sighed. "All right, sweetheart, I'll buy it for you." I pulled his arm. "Walter, we don't have money for that." But he had already taken out his wallet. "It's just this once, Rose. Let her have something nice." And he bought the doll. Felicity smiled, gave him a kiss on the cheek, and I had a strange sensation in my chest, something I couldn't identify at that moment, but which I understand perfectly now. As I tell all this, I wonder where you are listening from. Write the name of your city in the comments. The years passed quickly, too quickly. One day, William and Felicity were children playing in the yard, and the next, they were teenagers with their own dreams. William finished high school in 2005. He was 18. He wanted to study business administration. Felicity finished in 2008. She wanted to study accounting. Walter and I were proud, but also scared, because university cost money, a lot of money. One night, after the kids went to sleep, Walter and I sat at the kitchen table. He had a notebook in front of him. Numbers, bills, calculations. "If we sell the back half of the lot, we'll have enough to pay for William's tuition," he said. I felt a lump in my throat. "Are you sure?" "It's what we have to do, Rose. Our children can't go without an education. They have to have a better future than ours." And we sold that piece of land, the part where I dreamed of planting a large garden, where Walter wanted to build a bigger workshop. We sold it, and with that money, William entered university. William studied with dedication. He got good grades, came home late because he stayed studying in the library. Walter watched him with admiration. "That boy is going to be someone important, Rose. You'll see." And I wanted to believe him. But there was something about William that had changed. He no longer told us things. He no longer ate dinner with us every day. He was always busy. When I asked him how it was going, he answered quickly, "Fine, Mom, everything's fine," and went to his room. In 2008, when Felicity finished high school, we had to make another decision. We didn't have any more land to sell. Walter took out a loan, a big home equity loan with high interest. "Don't worry," he told me. "I'm going to work more hours. We'll be able to pay it off." And he worked more hours. He stopped coming home at 6 p.m. and started arriving at 9, at 10. Sometimes he arrived so tired he could barely eat. I heated up his dinner, made him chamomile tea, rubbed his back. "Rest, Walter. Your body is asking for it." But he shook his head. "I can't rest, Rose. We have to get our children ahead." Felicity studied accounting, but she was different from William. She didn't stay studying in the library. She went out with friends. She arrived late. She always had an excuse. "Mom, I had to do a group project." "Mom, there was an event at the university." I didn't say anything because I didn't want to be the controlling mother, but deep down, something worried me. In 2009, William graduated. We threw a small party at the house. We invited the family. I made roast beef and potatoes. Walter bought a cake. William arrived in a suit. He looked so elegant, so different from the boy I knew. "Thanks, Dad." "Thanks, Mom. Everything I am is because of you," he said. Walter cried. I thought all the sacrifice was worth it. But then something changed. William got a job at a big corporation. He started earning well better than Walter. He bought a car, a brand new car from the dealership. When I saw it, I was surprised. "Where did you get the money for this, son?" He smiled. "It's a loan, Mom, but don't worry, I can pay for it." And I stayed silent, because I didn't want to ruin his happiness. Shortly after, William started bringing a girl to the house. Her name was Andrea. She was from a well-to-do family. She spoke differently, dressed differently. When she came, she looked at our house with curiosity, as if she were in a museum. "Your house is so quaint, Rose," she would tell me, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. I made her coffee, offered her pie, tried to be kind, but she hardly ate. "I'm on a diet," she would say, and William would laugh nervously. One day William invited us to dinner at his apartment. Yes, he already had his own apartment in a nice neighborhood with an elevator and security. Walter and I arrived with a tray of cookies I had made. Andrea opened the door, looked at the cookies, and smiled tight-lipped. What a nice gesture. "I'll put them in the pantry." But she never served them. That night we ate pasta with wine on elegant white plates. I didn't know which fork to use correctly. Walter didn't either. Andrea watched us with a polite smile, but I felt her judgment, and William said nothing. In 2012, William married Andrea. It was a huge wedding in an elegant hotel ballroom with more than 200 guests. We paid what we could, but it was Andrea and her family who organized everything. I felt out of place all day. My dress was simple, bought at a department store. Next to the other ladies in their designer gowns, I seemed invisible. Walter wore the same suit he had worn to William's graduation. No one took photos of us. Well, the formal photos, yes, but no one sought us out for casual shots. It was as if we didn't exist. After the wedding, William visited us less. At first, he came every 2 weeks, then once a month, then every 2 months. He always had an excuse. "I'm very busy at work, Mom." Andrea has commitments with her family. The kids have activities. Yes, by then he had 2 children, my grandchildren. I saw them in photos he sent me via text, but almost never in person. Felicity graduated in 2013. By then, Walter and I were tired financially, physically, emotionally. We still hadn't finished paying off the loan, and Walter was 53. His body couldn't take as much anymore. But we kept going because that's what parents do. Felicity opened her own CPA firm in 2014. She asked us to lend her money for the down payment on the office space. Walter took out everything we had in savings. "It's the last time, Rose," he told me. "After this, we won't have to do this anymore." And I believed him. But Felicity never paid us back that money. At first, she said, "Mom, give me a little more time. I'm just starting." Then she stopped mentioning it. And I didn't want to pressure her because I didn't want to seem greedy. I didn't want her to think I only cared about money. In 2015, Felicity got married. Her wedding was simpler than William's, but just as expensive for us. Walter took out another loan. I begged him not to do it. "We can't keep going into debt, Walter." But he insisted. "She's our daughter, Rose. We can't let her go without a wedding." The following years were difficult. Walter worked more and more, but earned less and less because his body didn't respond the same way. I kept sewing, but my hands were trembling now, and my eyes didn't see as well. We started depending on our savings, but our savings were getting smaller, and our children almost never visited us. William sent money occasionally, $200, $300 like charity. "So you can treat yourselves, Mom," he said, but he never came to see us. Felicity did come, but only when she needed something. "Mom, can you watch the baby this weekend?" "Mom, do you have some cash I can borrow? I'll pay you back next month." And I always said yes because she was my daughter. I still wonder if I did the right thing. What would you have done in my place? The last 10 years were a slow disappearance. I didn't realize it at the time, but now I see it clearly. Walter and I became ghosts in our own children's lives. We were there, but we didn't really exist. We were only useful when they needed us. In 2016, Walter had to close his repair shop. He couldn't work like before. His back hurt all the time. His hands shook. The doctor told him he had severe joint wear from so many years of heavy labor. "You need to rest, sir. Your body can't take any more." But resting meant having no income, and we still had debts to pay. We sold the tools from the shop. We sold the garage equipment. We sold everything we could. With that money, we paid off the last loan, and for the first time in years, we owed nothing, but we also had nothing. Just our house and a small check Walter had managed to get from Social Security, $1,200 a month. That's what we lived on. I told William about the shop closing. I hoped he would worry, ask if we needed anything, but he just said, "That's good, Dad. You deserve to rest," and hung up the phone. He didn't ask how we were going to live. He didn't offer help. I stood there with the phone in my hand, feeling a void in my chest, but I told myself, he has his own responsibilities. I can't ask him for more. Felicity didn't ask either. When I told her, she just said, "Oh, Mom, that's great that you don't have to work so hard anymore." And she changed the subject. She talked about her problems, her business, her husband. I listened to her as I always did, but she never asked how I was. In 2018, Walter fell at home. It was a Sunday morning. He was trying to fix a leak in the roof. I heard the noise. I ran to the patio, and there he was on the ground, his face twisted in pain. "I can't move, Rose," he said. I called the ambulance. I called William. I called Felicity. The ambulance arrived in 20 minutes. My children arrived 3 hours later. Walter had fractured his hip. The doctor said he needed surgery and then rehab. The hospital deductible and co-pays were going to be over $5,000. We didn't have that money. William and Felicity talked amongst themselves in the waiting room. I saw them arguing in hushed tones. Finally, William approached me. "Mom, we're going to pay half each, but after this, you guys have to start thinking about your situation." "What situation?" "That you're getting old and you need help. You can't keep living alone." I felt a chill. "We're fine, son. It was just an accident." But William shook his head. "You're not fine, Mom. Dad can't work anymore. Neither can you. You have to accept reality." And he left. Walter left the hospital 2 weeks later with a walker, with pain, with fear. I took care of him day and night, made his meals, gave him his medicine, helped him bathe and dress. He cried sometimes when I wasn't looking, but I heard him, and it broke my heart. William and Felicity came to visit us once during that time. They stayed for an hour, drank coffee, asked how Walter was, and left. "We have to go pick up the kids," they said. I watched them leave from the window and wondered at what moment we had ceased to be a family. In 2019, I started noticing that Felicity came to the house more often. At first, I was pleased. I thought she was finally worried about us, but then I realized she wasn't coming to visit. She was coming to inspect. She checked our kitchen, our bathroom, our medicines. "Mom, are you taking your pills? Mom, when was the last time you went to the doctor? Mom, this house is too big for you. Don't you think it would be better to live in a smaller place?" I answered her patiently, but something in her tone unsettled me. In 2020, William started calling me more often, not to ask how I was, not to chat, but to ask strange questions. "Mom, do you have a will? Mom, whose name is the house in? Mom, do you have any life insurance?" I answered him because he was my son, because I had nothing to hide. But Walter told me, "I don't like how he asks you those things, Rose." And I replied, "He's just worried about us." But deep down, I had doubts too. In 2021, Felicity asked me to sign some papers. "It's for your medical benefits, Mom, so you can receive a little more coverage." I looked at them. There were many, with fine print. "What do these papers say, honey?" "It's just government paperwork, Mom." "Don't worry. I'll handle everything." Walter snatched the papers from her hands. "Let us read them first." Felicity frowned. "You don't trust me?" "It's not that, honey. We just want to understand what we're signing." She sighed, grabbed the papers. "Fine, forget it. I'll figure it out." And she left, annoyed. That night, Walter told me, "Something isn't right, Rose." But I didn't want to listen to him, because accepting that something was wrong meant accepting that my children didn't love me, and I wasn't ready for that. In 2022, William and Felicity started coming to the house together, always on Saturday afternoons. They sat with us in the living room, drank coffee, talked, but their conversations always ended in the same place. Dad, Mom, you are getting old. You need help. You should consider moving to a place where there are people to take care of you. It's not healthy for you to live alone in this big house. I told them we were fine, that we could take care of ourselves, that we didn't need anything, but they insisted, and every time they left, I was left with a knot in my throat. In 2023, Walter started keeping important papers in a metal lockbox. "What are you doing?" I asked him. "Just being cautious, Rose." "Cautious of what?" He didn't answer, but that night I saw him checking the title deed to the house, the mortgage papers, the bank documents, and locking them away. In 2024, something changed. William and Felicity stopped insisting we move. They stopped asking questions. Suddenly, they were kinder, more attentive. William sent us money every month, $500, without us asking. Felicity came to visit every week. She brought us food, asked how we were. I thought, finally, they realized they were losing us. Walter thought otherwise. "They are planning something, Rose. How can you say that? Look how attentive they are." Precisely because of that. But I didn't believe him. I wanted to believe my children had reconsidered, that they finally valued us. And then, 3 months ago, Felicity called me with the news of the party, and I thought everything had been worth it, that finally, after so much sacrifice, my children were showing me their love. How wrong I was. The 3 months leading up to the party were strange, too good to be true, but I refused to see the signs, because when you have waited so long for love from your children, any crumb seems like a banquet. It all started in September 2025. Felicity arrived one Sunday afternoon without warning with a bag full of food. "Mom, I brought you roast chicken and mashed potatoes and fresh rolls." I looked at her in surprise. "Honey, you didn't have to do that." "Of course I did. You always did everything for us. Now it's our turn to take care of you." She hugged me, and for a moment I felt I was getting my daughter back, that girl who once needed me. That same week, William also came. He brought his 2 children, my grandchildren. I hadn't seen them in over a year. The kids had grown so much. The oldest was 12, the youngest 9. "Grandpa, Grandma," they said timidly. I hugged them with tears in my eyes. Walter took them to the yard, showed them the plants, told them stories, and for the first time in years, our house was filled with laughter again. When William left, he squeezed my hand. "Sorry for being so distant, Mom. Life just got away from us, but we want to be closer to you guys." I believed him because that's what a mother does. The following weeks were like a dream. William came every weekend, sometimes alone, sometimes with Andrea and the kids. Felicity came during the week, helped me with shopping, took me to the doctor. Walter started to relax. "Maybe I was wrong," he told me one night. "Maybe they just needed to mature," and I wanted to believe him. But there were strange moments, little things that didn't fit. One afternoon, Felicity arrived with some brochures. "Look, Mom, I found this place. It's a senior living community. It has gardens, activities, nurses, 24 hours a day." I looked at the brochures. They were for beautiful, expensive places. "Why are you showing me this, honey?" "Just so you know about it, in case you ever need it." "We won't need it. We're fine here." She smiled. "Of course, Mom. It's just information." But she put the brochures back in her purse, and I was left with a weird feeling. Another afternoon, William arrived with a man I didn't know. "Mom, Dad, this is Mr. Roberts. He's a lawyer, a friend of mine." Mr. Roberts greeted us politely. "Nice to meet you. William asked me to come talk to you about your estate." "Our estate?" Walter asked. "Yes, it's important that you have everything in order. Wills, power of attorney, in case at some point you need someone to make decisions for you." Walter tensed up. "We can make our own decisions." The lawyer raised his hands. "Of course, it's just a precaution to protect you." Walter stared at him. "We don't need protection. Thanks for coming." And he dismissed him. William got annoyed. "Dad, I'm just trying to help." "We didn't ask for help, son." There was an uncomfortable silence. William left without saying goodbye. That night, Walter said, "They're plotting something, Rose." "Don't say that." "They're just worried about us." "Worried or interested in our house?" I shook my head. "You're unfair, Walter. They are our children." But deep down, a small doubt began to grow. At the end of October, Felicity took me to get some medical tests. "It's just a routine checkup, Mom, to make sure you're okay." We went to a private clinic. Expensive. They did many tests: blood pressure, heart, memory. "Why so many tests?" I asked Felicity. "Because we want to take care of you, Mom. We want to make sure you're healthy." The results arrived a week later. Felicity picked them up, but she never showed them to me. "Everything turned out fine, Mom. You're perfect." "Can I see the results?" "Sure, I have them in my car. I'll bring them in later." But she never brought them. In November, William started asking me strange questions. "Mom, do you remember what day it is?" "Monday." "And what date?" "November 4th. "And what year are we in?" 2025. "Why are you asking that?" He smiled. "Just curious." But I saw him noting something down on his phone. Another time he asked me, "Mom, do you remember where you left your glasses?" "On the kitchen table." "Are you sure?" "Because a while ago you said they were in your room." I frowned. "I didn't say that." "Yes, Mom, you did." And I started to doubt myself. Had I really said that? Was I starting to forget things? Walter also noticed those questions. "They are gaslighting you, Rose." "Why would they do that?" "To make you sign whatever they want, so you believe you can't make your own decisions." I didn't want to believe him. But I started paying more attention. In mid-November, Felicity arrived with more papers. "Mom, I need you to sign this. It's for your health insurance." I took the papers, read them carefully. There were 6 pages with fine print, with legal terms I didn't understand. "What exactly is this?" "It's an update to your policy so you have better coverage." "Can I keep it for Walter to read?" Felicity sighed. "Mom, I have to turn it in today. If you don't sign now, you lose the opportunity." Something in her tone alerted me. "Then I lose it. I'm not going to sign something I don't understand." Felicity got upset. "You don't trust me either?" "It's not that, honey. I just want to understand what I'm signing." She shoved the papers into her bag abruptly. "Whatever," and she left. That night, Walter said, "Well done, Rose. Don't sign anything, nothing. Do you hear me? But there are children, Walter." "I know, that's why it hurts so much." And I saw tears in his eyes. In the first week of December, Felicity called me. "Mom, I have a surprise for you and Dad." "What surprise?" "I can't tell you, but you're going to be very happy." "Tell me, honey." "I don't like surprises." She laughed. "That's why it's a surprise, Mom. I'll just tell you that William and I are organizing something very special." And she hung up. During the next 2 weeks, Felicity and William were very mysterious. They called to ask us what day we were free, what we liked to eat, what music we liked. I thought maybe they were going to organize a family dinner, something simple, something nice. But Walter remained suspicious. Why so much secrecy? Why so many questions? "Because they want it to be special, Walter." But even I was starting to feel that something wasn't right. The Friday before the party, William came to the house. He brought wine, cheese, bread. "Let's have dinner together like in the old days," he said. We ate, the 3 of us, at the kitchen table. William was kind, affectionate, attentive. But when he left, Walter checked the wine bottles. "What are you doing?" I asked him. "Just being careful." He smelled the wine. He tasted it barely. "It's fine," he said, but he didn't seem convinced. Saturday arrived, the day of our 40th wedding anniversary party. Felicity picked us up at 6 p.m. "Are you ready for your surprise?" she asked with a huge smile. I felt nervous, excited, scared. Walter squeezed my hand. "Everything is going to be fine," he whispered. But neither of us knew what awaited us. When we entered the banquet hall, everything seemed perfect. Too perfect. The golden lights, the photographs of us on the walls, the balloons, the flowers, and all those faces smiling. Family we hadn't seen in years, old neighbors, friends from our youth. The band played our song, the same one we danced to on our wedding day, "Can't Help Falling in Love." Walter took my hand. "Let's dance, Rose." And we danced in the middle of that room full of people, with everyone watching us, clapping. I closed my eyes, and for a moment I was 21 again. I was that girl selling baked goods at the market. That girl who married a man with no money but a huge heart. Tears rolled down my cheeks. "Thank you, Walter, for these 40 years." He held me tight against his chest. There is nothing to thank me for, my love. You have been my whole life. When the song ended, everyone applauded. William approached with a glass of champagne in each hand. A toast to the best parents in the world, he said loudly. Everyone raised their glasses. I took mine. Walter took his. To you, Mom and Dad, for everything you taught us, for everything you sacrificed for us. This is just a small token of our gratitude. I took a sip. The champagne was sweet, very sweet, too sweet. They sat us at the main table, Walter to my right, William to my left, Felicity next to her father. The other guests settled at the other tables. The catering staff started serving the food. Roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans, everything we liked. You're eating, right? Felicity asked. You have to try everything. We organized it with a lot of love. I tasted the food. It was delicious. Walter ate too, but I saw he was uncomfortable. Every time someone offered us more champagne, he declined. I've had enough, he said. The band kept playing. People kept eating, laughing, dancing. Everything was joy. But I felt something strange in my stomach. It wasn't the food. It was a feeling, like when you know something bad is about to happen, but you don't know what. William stood up with a folder in his hands. Mom, Dad, we want to give you a special gift. Felicity stood up too. Yes, something you're going to like very much. William opened the folder, took out some papers. As you know, you worked all your lives, you sacrificed for us, and now we want to give a little of that back. Felicity continued. So we investigated options so that you can live more peacefully, without worries. My heart started beating faster. What options? Walter asked. William put the papers in front of us. We found a beautiful residence, with gardens, with nurses, with activities. A place where you can rest and enjoy without having to worry about the house, the bills, anything. I looked at the papers. They were brochures, the same ones Felicity had shown me weeks ago. We don't need that, I said, with a trembling voice. Felicity took my hand. Mom, you need it. You can't live alone anymore. Dad fell 2 years ago. You forget things. It's not safe. I don't forget things, I said, but my voice came out weak, because deep down her words had made me doubt myself for weeks. Walter stood up. We are not going to any residence. We are fine in our house. William stood up too. Dad, you have to be realistic. You can't take care of yourselves anymore. Yes, we can. No, you can't. And we can't be taking care of you all the time. We have our own families, our jobs. Walter looked at him with pain. We never asked you to take care of us, but it is our responsibility, and this is the best solution. People started noticing the tension. Conversations died down. The band stopped playing. Everyone looked at us. Felicity took more papers out of the folder. Besides, Mom, Dad, we have to talk about the house. What about the house? I asked. Well, it's in your name, and if something happens to you, there are going to be legal problems, taxes, complications. William intervened. That's why we prepared a power of attorney, so we can make decisions on your behalf. To protect you. Walter took a step back. Protect us? Or protect the inheritance? William clenched his jaw. It's not like that, Dad. Then why? Why do you want to take us to a nursing home? Why do you want to keep our house? Felicity raised her voice. Because you can't take care of yourselves. Because you're old. Because someone has to make decisions for you. The silence was absolute. I felt the floor moving beneath my feet. All those months of attention, visits, affection, they hadn't been real. It had been a plan to take our house, our freedom, our dignity. Walter took me by the arm, leaned toward me. Rose, don't drink any more of that drink and play along. Just listen to me. And then I saw it. Walter crouched down discreetly, reached under the table, and pulled out a manila folder, a thick folder. He opened it just enough for me to see, and there were legal documents. Application for involuntary admission to senior care facility. Petition for determination of incapacity. Durable power of attorney. Irrevocable. Quitclaim deed for real estate property. Our names printed. Blank spaces for signatures. And at the end of each document, witnesses, William Miller, Felicity Miller. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Walter closed the folder, looked me straight in the eye, and then said the words that would change everything. Pretend you passed out. We have to run now. I looked at him without understanding. What? Trust me, Rose. Do it now. And without thinking anymore, I closed my eyes. I let myself fall forward. I felt Walter's arms catching me. I heard screams. Mom! Rose! Call an ambulance! But I kept my eyes closed and let Walter carry me. I don't know how Walter had the strength to carry me. He was 65. His hip never fully recovered from the fracture. His back hurt all the time. But in that moment, he carried me as if I weighed nothing, as if his arms had the strength of when we were young. I heard voices around us. Give them space. She fainted. Someone get water. Walter was carrying me toward the exit. I kept my eyes closed, my body limp, but my heart was beating so hard I thought everyone would hear it. William caught up with us at the door. Dad, wait. Let me help. Let's take her to the hospital. No, Walter said firmly. I'll handle it. But Dad, I said no. And he kept walking out of the hall. The cold December air hit my face. Walter got me into a taxi that was waiting for fares. To General Hospital, he told the driver. Fast, please. The taxi took off. I still had my eyes closed, but Walter whispered to me, You can open your eyes now. We're far enough. I opened my eyes slowly and saw his face. He was pale, sweating, trembling. Are you okay? I asked him. He nodded, but I knew he wasn't okay. Are we really going to the hospital? The driver asked. Walter shook his head. No. Take us to the Greyhound bus station. What? I said. Why the bus station? Walter took my hands. Because we have to leave, Rose. Right now. Leave to where? Anywhere. Far away from them. I felt the world crumbling. But they're our family, Walter. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. Not anymore, my love. Not anymore. We arrived at the bus terminal 20 minutes later. Walter paid the taxi with the little cash he had in his wallet. He helped me down. We walked toward the ticket counters. I was still wearing my party dress, a purple dress I had bought especially for that night. Walter was wearing his gray suit, the only one he had. We looked like two people who had lost their way, and maybe that's what we were. Where do you want to go? Asked the woman at the counter. Walter looked at the departures board. What leaves soonest? Phoenix. Leaves in 15 minutes. 2 tickets, please. The woman looked at us with curiosity. Maybe we looked strange. 2 older people buying last-minute tickets, no luggage, in party clothes. But she didn't ask anything. She gave us the tickets, and we headed to the waiting area. We sat on a plastic bench. I was shivering, not from cold, but from fear. What are we going to do, Walter? I don't know. But we can't go back. But our house, the house doesn't matter, Rose. Nothing matters if we lose our freedom. I started to cry. I cried for everything. For the 40 years we had just celebrated. For the family I thought we had. For the betrayal I never imagined possible. Walter hugged me. I'm sorry, my love. I'm sorry I didn't raise them better. It's not your fault. Yes, it is. Ours. We gave them everything. And with that, we taught them they could take whatever they wanted. My phone started ringing. It was Felicity. The call came in once, twice, 3 times. I didn't answer. Then William called. I didn't answer either. Messages arrived. Mom, where are you? Dad, answer the phone. Mom, we're worried. Are you okay? We need to know where you are. Walter took my phone. We have to turn it off. They can track us. Track us? Walter, you're exaggerating. He looked at me sadly. Am I? After what we saw there, do you really think they aren't capable? We boarded the bus. We sat all the way in the back by the window. The bus started moving. I looked out the window. I saw the city lights moving away, and I felt I was leaving my whole life behind. During the trip, we didn't talk much. Walter held my hand. I rested my head on his shoulder and thought. I thought about William when he was a boy, how he hugged me every night before sleeping. I thought about Felicity when she was a baby, how she looked at me with those big eyes every time I nursed her. At what moment did they become strangers? At what moment did they stop seeing us as parents and start seeing us as obstacles? It was a long journey. We arrived in Phoenix more than a day later. The terminal was busy, but we felt invisible. We walked out carefully, as if someone might be waiting for us. Now what? I asked. Walter looked around. Let's look for a motel, something cheap. We walked several blocks. We found a small motel, the kind that charges by the night with no questions asked. Walter paid in cash. They gave us a room on the second floor. The room was small, with a double bed, a bathroom, a window facing the parking lot. We sat on the bed, and for the first time all night, we let all the pain out. Walter cried. I cried. We hugged and cried like we hadn't in years. What did we do wrong, Rose? Walter asked between sobs. I don't know. We gave them everything we had. Maybe that was the mistake. Maybe we gave them so much they never learned to value anything. I had no answer, only pain. A deep pain, as if my heart had been ripped out. We spent that night awake, talking, crying, trying to understand. Walter took out the manila folder he had taken from the hall. He put it on the bed. We opened it completely and read every document. The first was the application for involuntary commitment. It said we had moderate cognitive decline, that we couldn't make decisions for ourselves, that we needed constant supervision. It was all a lie, but it was signed by a doctor we never met, probably the one who read the tests Felicity took me to in October. The results she never showed me. The second document was the power of attorney. It gave William and Felicity total control over our finances, our property, our medical decisions. They could sell the house without our consent. They could put us anywhere. They could do whatever they wanted with us. The third document was the quitclaim deed. In that document, we voluntarily transferred ownership of our house to William and Felicity as payment in advance for our maintenance in the residence. There were other documents, all prepared with care, all designed to strip us of everything, our house, our freedom, our dignity, and the worst part, in a way that would seem legal. They were going to make us sign this at the party, Walter said. That's why the drinks were spiked. So we would be confused. So we would sign without understanding. But were all the guests in on the plan too? No. The guests were witnesses to make it all look real, so no one would suspect. I felt nauseous. Our own children. I couldn't finish the sentence. That night we made a decision. We weren't going back. We weren't going to confront them. We weren't going to fight. We were simply going to disappear. We were going to build a new life far from them, and we were going to let time do justice, because sooner or later, life collects its debts. The first days in Phoenix were the hardest of my life. Not because of the city, not because of the money, but because of the silence of having no one, of being completely alone. But it was also that silence that saved us. We stayed in that motel for a week. Walter counted our money every night. We had very little, barely $2,000 he had kept in his wallet for emergencies. We have to find a cheaper place, he told me. And I have to look for work. Work, Walter? You can't work like before. Then I'll do what I can. But we're not going to end up with nothing. On the fifth day, we found a furnished studio apartment in a simple neighborhood far from downtown. It was a tiny room with a bed, a hot plate, and a bathroom down the hall. It reminded me of the room where we lived when we got married 40 years ago, and I thought, we have returned to the beginning. But this time it was different. This time, we didn't have dreams of building something together. We only had the need to survive. Walter found a job at a mechanic shop, not as a mechanic. His hands couldn't do that work anymore, but as a night watchman. He made minimum wage. He left at 6 p.m., came back at 6 a.m. I almost didn't see him. I looked for work, too. But who hires a 62-year-old woman with no recent references? No one. So I started doing what I knew how to do. Sewing. I bought a used sewing machine at a pawn shop. It cost me $100, almost all I had left, and I started offering my services at the local swap meet. Alterations, hems, zippers, whatever you need. At first, I had no customers. But little by little, the ladies at the market started trusting me. I earned $10 a fix, $20 if it was something more complicated. It wasn't much, but it was something. During those first months, my phone remained off. I kept it in a drawer as if I were keeping a piece of my previous life. Walter also kept his. Someday we're going to turn them on, he told me. But not yet. What if they're worried? What if they're looking for us? He looked at me sadly. If they were truly worried, it would be because they love us, not because they lost control over us. And I knew he was right. Months passed. December turned into January, January into February, February into March. Little by little, we built a routine. Walter worked nights, slept days. I sewed in the mornings, cooked in the afternoons. We ate dinner together when he woke up at 5 p.m. Half an hour. That was the only thing we had together each day, but it was enough. In April 2026, something changed. I was at the swap meet when a lady approached me. "Excuse me, aren't you the lady who fixes clothes?" "Yes, ma'am." "Do you need something?" "My daughter is getting married in 2 months and needs someone to make her dress. Do you know how to make wedding dresses?" I hesitated. It had been years since I made a complete dress, let alone a wedding dress, but I needed the money. Yes, I know how. How much do you charge?" I thought of a number. A number that seemed impossible for someone to pay me here, $500. I expected her to say no, but she smiled. "Okay, but it has to be beautiful, okay?" And she gave me a $200 deposit. That night I told Walter. He hugged me. "You're going to do it incredibly, Rose. You always have." And for the first time in months, I felt hope. I worked on that dress for 6 weeks. I bought the most beautiful fabric I found, white lace, satin, beads. I sewed every stitch with care, with love, as if I were sewing my own hope. And when I finished, the dress was beautiful. The bride cried when she tried it on. "It's perfect. Exactly what I wanted." Her mom paid me the remaining $300 and hugged me. "Thank you. You gave my daughter the dress of her dreams." After that, more orders started coming. Quinceañera dresses, First Communion dresses, children's clothes. My room turned into a small workshop, and I started feeling useful again. In June, Walter quit the watchman job. His body couldn't take the sleepless nights anymore. "I'll look for something quieter," he told me. And he found a job at a small corner grocery store, stocking shelves, attending to customers. He earned less, but he was less tired, and we could have dinner together every night. In August, we turned on our phones. For the first time in 8 months, we had hundreds of messages from William, from Felicity, from relatives, from neighbors. The first messages were of concern. "Where are you? Answer, please. We are very worried." But then the messages changed. "This is disrespectful. How can you do this to us? We need to talk about the house." And the last messages from 3 months ago were different. "Fine. If you don't want to hear from us, we don't want to hear from you either. Hope you're happy with your decision." Walter read the messages in silence. Then he deleted everything. "Are you going to answer them?" I asked. "No, never." And he turned off his phone again. I did the same. In September, we moved to a larger apartment. It had a bedroom, a small living room, a full kitchen, its own bathroom, and a window facing a park. It wasn't our house. It never would be, but it was our home. I started having regular clients, ladies who recommended me to others, mothers who came back every year for me to make their children's school uniforms, brides who sought me out because they had seen the dress I made for someone else. And little by little, I stopped being just the lady who fixes clothes. I became Miss Rose, the seamstress. I had a name, a reputation, a purpose. Walter also found his place. At the grocery store, he became friends with the owner, Mr. Ernie Higgins, an older man, a widower, no children. Mr. Ernie started trusting him, gave him more responsibilities, and in October offered him a partnership. "Walter, I'm old. I can't handle this alone anymore. How about you take a part of the business?" Walter came home that night with tears in his eyes. "Rose, someone trusts me. After everything that happened, someone believes I'm worth something." In November, we did the math. Between my sewing and Walter's partnership in the store, we were making almost $4,000 a month. It wasn't a fortune, but it was more than we had in Chicago, living with the constant fear that our children would take everything from us. "We are free, Rose," Walter told me. "Maybe we don't have much, but we are free." And he was right. In December 2026, we celebrated 41 years of marriage. There was no party, no guests, just the two of us. We bought a small cake at the bakery on the corner. We ate dinner in our apartment with candles, with music, and we danced like we did on our wedding day, like we did at that party that turned into our worst nightmare. But this time it was different. This time we danced without fear, without pain, without betrayal, only with love. The same love that united us 41 years ago. The same love that kept us together despite everything. That night, Walter said to me, "You know, maybe we lost our children. Maybe we lost our house. But we found ourselves. Do you think it was worth it?" He took my hands. "Yes, because now I know that the only thing that really matters in this life is the person you share it with, and I have you." And I knew I had made the right decision. Not fighting, not taking revenge, not confronting. 2 more years passed. 2 years in which Walter and I built a completely new life, a life we never imagined having at our age. But they were also 2 years in which, without seeking it, we started receiving news. News of what had happened with William and Felicity after our departure. And I learned something my grandmother told me when I was a child. Life always collects its debts. You don't need revenge, you just need to wait. It was in March 2027 when we received the first news. It had been 15 months since we last turned on our phones. I was at the fabric store when I saw a woman looking at me insistently. She was older, maybe my age, with white hair and tired eyes. She approached me carefully. "You are Rose Miller?" My heart skipped a beat. It had been over a year since anyone called me by my married name. Here everyone knew me only as Miss Rose. "Who's asking?" I said cautiously. "My name is Stella. I was your neighbor in Chicago. I lived 2 houses down." I remembered her vaguely, a kind lady who sometimes bought my pies on Sundays. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I came to visit my sister, but I didn't expect to find you. We all thought that something bad had happened to you." I felt a lump in my throat. "We're fine. We just needed a change." Stella looked at me with compassion. "You don't have to explain. I know what happened." "What do you know?" She lowered her voice. "I know your children wanted to put you in a home. I know you disappeared the night of your anniversary, and I know what happened after." We sat on a bench outside the store, and Stella told me everything. "That night, when you left, your kids stayed at the banquet hall. At first, they seemed worried. They called hospitals. They called the police. They filed a report." "They filed a report?" I asked. "Yes, but only for a few days. When the police started asking questions about why you would run away, William got nervous. He said it was a misunderstanding, that you just needed space, and withdrew the report." I felt a mix of relief and sadness. "And then?" Stella sighed. "Then the problems started between them." She told me that William and Felicity fought hard. William blamed Felicity for leaving the documents under the table where Walter could find them. Felicity blamed William for preparing everything so fast without thinking the plan through. "They were screaming in the middle of the street," Stella said. "All the neighbors heard them. It was very ugly." "And the house?" I asked. "What happened to our house?" Stella looked at me sadly. "William tried to keep it. He said since you abandoned it, he had the right to take possession. He hired lawyers. He tried to declare you legally missing so he could take over, but he failed. Because you didn't sign anything. The house is still in your name. And since there's no will stating otherwise, the lawyers told him he couldn't do anything." I felt a huge weight lift off my chest. "So what did they do?" "William and Felicity decided to rent the house to make some money, but they fought over how to split the rent. William wanted more because he paid the water and electric. Felicity wanted more because she found the tenants. They rented it for a while. Not anymore. The last tenants left 4 months ago, and the house is empty. William doesn't want to spend money maintaining it, and neither does Felicity. I thought of our house, the house we built with our hands, now empty, neglected, forgotten like us." Stella continued. "But that's not the worst part, Rose. What else happened?" "Andrea, William's wife, found out about the whole plan. About the documents, the nursing home, what they wanted to do to you. And what did she do? She divorced him." I was speechless. She said she couldn't be married to someone capable of doing that to his own parents. That if he was capable of that, what would he do to her when she was no longer useful? She took half of everything. I felt something strange in my chest. It wasn't joy, it wasn't satisfaction. It was just sadness. "And the kids?" I asked. "They stayed with Andrea. William has the right to see them every 2 weeks, but he almost never does. They say he's very depressed." "And Felicity?" I asked. Stella shook her head. "Felicity had problems too. Her business started going bad. She lost several important clients. Rumor is someone talked about what she did to you, and people stopped trusting her. Who told? I don't know, but in a neighborhood like that, secrets don't last long, and what they did to you was very cruel. Stella paused. Her husband left her too. About 6 months ago. He took their daughter. Felicity is living alone in a small apartment. I stayed silent for a long time. I didn't feel victory. I didn't feel revenge satisfied. I just felt a deep sadness because they were my children, and despite everything they did to me, a part of me still loved them, or at least loved the children they once were. Why are you telling me all this? I asked Stella. She took my hand. Because I thought you had a right to know, and because I wanted you to know that the people in the neighborhood didn't forget you. That many of us know you were good people, and that your children were wrong. I felt tears in my eyes. Thank you. Are you going back? No. There is nothing to go back to. Stella nodded. I understand. But if you ever need anything, here is my number. She gave me a piece of paper, hugged me, and left. That night I told Walter everything. He listened in silence. When I finished, he sighed deeply. Life is collecting, Rose. I know. Does it make you happy? I thought about his question. No, it doesn't make me happy. It makes me sad because they are still my children, but they stopped treating us like their parents. I know, and that's why I'm not going back. But I'm not going to rejoice in their suffering either. Walter hugged me. That is what makes you different from them, my love. You still have a heart. In July 2027, I received a call. It was from a number I didn't know. I hesitated to answer, but something told me to do it. Hello, Mrs. Rose Miller? Yes. Who is this? I'm Mr. Morales. I'm an attorney. I'm calling you because your son William hired me to locate you. I felt my heart stop. Why is he looking for me? Because he wants to speak with you. He says it's urgent. What is so urgent? The lawyer paused. Ma'am, your son is sick. He has health problems and wants to see you before it's too late. I dropped the phone. I sat on the bed and cried. I cried for everything. For the son I knew, for the man he became, for the distance between us. Walter found me like that. What happened? I told him about the call. He clenched his jaw. It's a trap, Rose. What if it isn't? What if he's really sick? Even if he is sick, that doesn't erase what he tried to do to us. I know. But he's my son. Walter. He was your son. He isn't anymore. And he was right. I didn't answer the lawyer's calls again. I blocked the number and went on with my life because I had learned something in these 2 years. You can't help someone who doesn't want to be helped, and you can't love someone who only sees you as an object. In November 2027, Stella called me again. Rose, I have to tell you something. What happened? William is in the hospital. He had a heart attack. It's serious. I felt like I had been punched. Is he going to be okay? I don't know. But Felicity is with him, and they are fighting again. Fighting about what? Money, your house, everything. They are fighting in the middle of the hospital while their brother is between life and death. That night I couldn't sleep. I thought about William, about the baby born 40 years ago, about the boy who hugged me before sleeping, about the young man crying with emotion on his graduation day. Where had that boy gone? At what moment did he become a man capable of betraying his own parents? 2 weeks later, Stella called me again. William got out of the hospital. He's okay. He's alive. But he has to take care of himself. The doctor said he needs rest. He can't work. He needs help. And Andrea doesn't want anything to do with him. The kids don't visit him either. And Felicity? Stella sighed. Felicity went to see him once, but they fought. She told him she doesn't have money to help him, that she's doing badly too, and she left. William was alone, just as he left Walter and me. Alone, sick, scared. Life was charging him for every one of his decisions, and I felt nothing but a deep, deep sadness. In December 2027, we celebrated 42 years of marriage. This time we invited some people, the ladies from the swap meet, Mr. Ernie, Stella, who was visiting again. It was a simple dinner in our apartment with food I prepared, with music Walter played on his old radio. And for the first time in years, I felt surrounded by family, not by blood, but by truth. That night, before sleeping, Walter asked me, "Do you ever regret leaving?" I thought about his question. I thought about our house, our children, everything we left behind, and I answered honestly, sometimes I miss what could have been, but I don't regret what we did, because we chose our dignity, we chose our freedom, and we chose to be together. Walter smiled. So, was it worth it? Yes, it was worth it. In January 2028, I received another message from Stella, but this time it was different. It was a photograph of our house in Chicago. The yard was full of weeds, the siding was dirty, a window was cracked, and on the door there was a sign, "For sale by owner, price to sell." Below the photo, Stella wrote, "William and Felicity put the house up for sale, but no one wants to buy it because it's so run down and they don't have money to fix it. They are desperate." I looked at the photo for a long time. That house we built brick by brick. That house where we raised our children. That house that was our dream. Now it was just an abandoned memory. I showed the photo to Walter. He looked at it without expression. "Do you want to do something?" he asked. "Are you sure?" "Yes. That house isn't ours anymore. It hasn't been since the moment they tried to take it from us, and if they lose it, then they lose it. Just like they lost everything else." Walter put his phone away, hugged me. "You know, Rose, you once called me crazy for distrusting them, but now look." I said nothing, because there was nothing to say. Life had done its work without us lifting a finger, without us seeking revenge, just with the natural weight of consequences. William and Felicity had wanted to keep everything, and now they were losing everything: their family, their reputation, their health, their peace. And we, who had lost everything materially, had gained something they would never have: freedom, dignity, and the peace of mind of knowing we did the right thing. Sometimes justice doesn't come from the courts. It comes from the simple fact that the decisions you make return to you, good or bad. And my children had made their decisions. Now they were living with them. Today is the 24th of December 2025, exactly 3 years since that night. That night we discovered our own children had set a trap for us. 3 years since Walter whispered to me, "Pretend you passed out. We have to run now." And as I make coffee in the kitchen of our small apartment in Phoenix, I ask myself, was it worth it? The answer is yes, 1,000 times yes. I am 65 years old now. Walter is 68. We are not the same people we were 3 years ago. Physically, we are more tired. My eyesight isn't what it was. Walter's hands shake more. But emotionally, spiritually, we are stronger than ever. Because we learned something many people never learn, that true love doesn't come from blood, it comes from choice, and we chose to build something new. My sewing business has grown more than I imagined. I now have 3 sewing machines, a helper who comes 3 times a week, and a waiting list of 2 months for wedding dresses. Brides come from all over the valley because they say, "Miss, Rose's dresses have something special. Miss Rose, when I put on your dress, I felt like you had sewn love into every stitch," a bride told me 2 weeks ago. And maybe she's right, because every time I sew, I think of all the weddings I never had, of all the dreams I had to leave behind, and I transform them into something beautiful for someone else. Walter became a full partner in the grocery store a year ago. Mr. Ernie passed away in February 2024. He had no family, and in his will, he left the store divided into 2 parts, one for his niece who lives in New York, and one for Walter. "Because you were more of a son to me than anyone of my blood," the will said. Walter cried when the lawyer read him those words. And I understood that sometimes the family you build is stronger than the family you are born into. The niece didn't want the store. She wanted to sell. Walter used all our savings to buy her share. Now the store is completely his. It's small, it's simple, but it's his. And every morning when I see him open the doors, organize the boxes, greet the customers, I see in his eyes something I hadn't seen in years. Pride. We have made friends here, real friends. Stella comes to visit us every month. She brings us news from Chicago, though there is less and less to tell. The ladies from the market invite me to their birthdays, to their grandkids' confirmations, to their holiday parties. The customers at Walter's store ask about his health, bring him cookies when they know he's been tired, save the Sunday paper for him because they know he likes to read it. They are small things. But small things are what build a life. Sometimes at night, Walter and I sit on the balcony of our apartment. We watch the city lights, listen to the noise of cars, the voices of neighbors, dogs barking, and we talk. We talk about everything and nothing. About the dresses I have to finish, about the customers who came to the store, about the lady who sold us tomatoes cheaper because she knows us. And sometimes, only sometimes, we talk about them. About William and Felicity. The news that arrives is sadder every time. In March 2023, Stella told me William lost his job. The company where he worked for 15 years fired him. They say he wasn't performing the same. That after the heart attack he was very weak, Stella told me. He tried to look for another job, but no one hires a 43-year-old man with health problems and without good references. His ex-wife Andrea got remarried. Her kids have a stepfather now, someone who takes them to soccer, who helps them with homework, who is present. William hasn't seen his kids in 4 months. He says he's ashamed for them to see him like this. Living in a rented room, no money, nothing, Stella told me. And I felt pain. Not for him, for the children who are growing up without a father, just as William grew up without giving us the chance to be the grandparents we wanted to be. Felicity isn't doing any better. Her business closed permanently in August 2024. She couldn't pay the rent on the office, couldn't pay her employees. She filed for bankruptcy. Now, she works as a bookkeeper at a small company. She earns barely enough to pay her rent and expenses. Her daughter, my granddaughter, lives with the father. Felicity sees her on weekends, but the relationship is tense. The girl blames her, Stella told me. She asks, "Why did Grandma and Grandpa leave?" And Felicity doesn't know what to answer. In June 2024, William and Felicity finally sold the house. They sold it for much less than it was worth because it was in such bad shape that no one wanted it. They had to lower the price 3 times, and in the end, they sold it almost for nothing. They split the money evenly, but instead of using it to build something, they used it to pay debts they had accumulated trying to maintain a lifestyle they could no longer sustain. And in 6 months, that money was gone. In October 2024, William tried to contact me again. This time it wasn't through a lawyer, it was directly. He got my new number, I don't know how, and called me. I saw his name on my phone screen. My first instinct was to answer because he is still my son. But Walter stopped me. If you answer, they'll start again. They'll ask you for money. They'll ask you to come back. They'll ask you to save him. And what's wrong with saving my son? Nothing. If he wanted to be saved, but he doesn't want that. He just wants what he's always wanted for you to solve his problems. I let the call go to voicemail. I listened to the message that night. William's voice sounded tired, broken. "Mom, it's me. I know you don't want to talk to me. I understand. But I need you to know something. I was wrong. I did something unforgivable. And every day I live with that. Every day I think about that night, about how you must have felt when you saw those papers. And I hate myself for it. Mom, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm just asking you to know that I'm sorry. That I would give anything to go back and change things. But I can't. And now I'm alone. And I understand it's what I deserve. But, Mom, I miss you. I miss your morning coffee. I miss your hugs. I miss feeling part of a family. If someday you can find some space in your heart for me, even just to listen to me, please call me. I love you, Mom. I've always loved you." The message ended. I cried all night. Not because I wanted to go back, not because I planned to forgive him. I cried because that message arrived 3 years too late. 3 years in which we could have rebuilt something. 3 years in which he could have chosen love over money. But he didn't. And now it was too late. I didn't return the call, and he didn't try again. Felicity also tried to contact me. It was in December 2024. She sent me a long message on WhatsApp. It said similar things to what William had said, that she was sorry, that she had made a mistake, that she was alone, that she missed me. But at the end of the message, there was a line that ruined everything. "Mom, I know you're probably upset, but if you could help me with some money just to get through these difficult months, I would appreciate it so much. I promise I'll pay you back." And right there I knew that nothing had changed, that her regret wasn't for the damage she caused us, it was because she no longer had anyone to use. I didn't answer her either. I blocked her number and went on with my life. In February 2025, Stella visited me with different news. "Rose, I have to tell you something, but I don't know if you want to hear it." "Tell me." "William is very sick. His heart is worse. The doctors say he needs surgery, but he doesn't have insurance or money to pay for it, and the state assistance has a waiting list of 6 months. I felt like someone had placed a stone on my chest. Is it that serious? Yes. And Rose, he is asking for you. He told Felicity that the only thing he wants before he dies is to see you. That night I couldn't sleep. I paced the entire apartment. Walter watched me from the bed. Finally, I sat beside him. What do I do, Walter? Only you can decide that, my love. If I go, they'll think I forgave them. They'll think they can come back into my life. Maybe. Or maybe you just need to close that circle. Say goodbye. Not for them. For you. Would you come with me? Wherever you go, I go with you. I thought for 3 days, and finally, I made a decision. In March 2025, Walter and I took a bus back to Chicago for the first time in 3 years and 3 months. The trip was long. I looked out the window, watching the landscape pass by, and wondered if I was doing the right thing. We arrived in Chicago at sunset. I didn't tell anyone we were coming. I only asked Stella for the address of the hospital where William was. We took a taxi directly there. It was a county hospital, crowded, with long, cold hallways. We asked at the front desk. William Miller, room 304. We walked up the stairs. My heart beat so hard I thought everyone could hear it. We found the room. It was a shared room, 4 beds, 3 occupied. William was in the bed by the window, and when I saw him, I almost didn't recognize him. He was so thin, so pale, so old. He was 45 years old, but he looked 60. He was asleep. Felicity was sitting beside him. She looked up when she saw us enter. Her face showed shock, then relief, then shame. "Mom," she whispered. I said nothing. I just walked to William's bed. Walter stayed by the door. I sat in the chair on the other side of the bed and observed my son. His breathing was weak. He had tubes connected to his arm, a monitor beeping softly. And I asked myself, what does a mother feel when she sees her son like this? Love, pain, forgiveness, maybe all of it together. William opened his eyes slowly. He looked at me, blinked as if he wasn't sure I was real. "Mom?" His voice came out as a whisper. "Yes, son. It's me." His eyes filled with tears. "You came. I came. I thought I'd never see you again." I didn't answer. I just took his hand that was once the hand of a boy who needed me. Now it was the hand of a man who had destroyed his own life. "Mom, he began to say. But I raised my other hand. "No. Let me speak first." He nodded. "William, I came because I don't want you to die thinking I hate you. I don't hate you, and I probably never can hate you, because you are my son. That is never going to change." He cried. "But I didn't come to forgive you either. Because what you did to me, what you did to your father, cannot be forgiven just like that. You wanted to take away our freedom, our dignity, our house, everything we built. I know, Mom, I know. And I regret it every day. Do you regret it because it was wrong, or do you regret it because it didn't work out how you expected?" He stayed silent. And in that silence, I had my answer. "William, I came to tell you something important. Something I want you to understand before it's too late. Tell me, the money you wanted so badly, the house you cared so much about, none of that is going with you when you die. The only thing you take is the memory of how you treated the people who loved you. And that memory, son, is the only thing that really matters. Your father and I left because we needed to save ourselves. Because if we stayed, you would have taken not just our things, but our souls. And now, 3 years later, look at you. Was it worth it? Was it worth losing your family for a house you lost anyway? Was it worth losing your children, your wife, your health, all for a little money that doesn't exist anymore?" He sobbed. No, it wasn't worth it." Then learn from this, William. If you make it out of this, if God gives you a second chance, use your life to do good, to be better, to teach your children what true love is, because they are growing up and they are going to remember who you were. And if you don't change, they are going to repeat your errors. I stood up. I leaned in, kissed him on the forehead. "Goodbye, son. You're not staying?" "No. My life is somewhere else now. Will you ever be able to forgive me?" I thought about his question. "I don't know. but I hope you can forgive yourself. Because that is the only forgiveness that really matters." I looked at Felicity. She had been crying silently this whole time. "Felicity, take care of your brother. And when he gets out of here, help each other. Not with money, with presence, with love, with time, because that is the only thing that has value." She nodded without being able to speak. Walter and I left the hospital. We walked in silence to the corner. We took a taxi back to the bus station. And in all that time, neither of us said a word. It was only when we were on the bus back to Phoenix that Walter asked me, "Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm okay." "Do you regret going?" "No." I needed to close that circle. I needed to tell him what I felt. I needed to let him go. "And did you let him go?" I looked out the window. The city lights were fading away, and I thought about everything that had happened, everything I had lost, and everything I had gained. "Yes," I said finally. "I let him go." And it was true. Because in that moment I understood something fundamental. Forgiving means releasing the weight, releasing the anger, releasing the pain, releasing the need for things to have been different, and simply accepting that they were how they were, and moving forward. Today, 3 years after that night, I can say with total honesty, I did the right thing. It wasn't easy, it wasn't fast, it wasn't painless. But it was right. Because I chose my dignity over their manipulation. I chose my freedom over their control. I chose my peace over their chaos. I lost my children, yes, but I gained something more valuable. I gained myself. Walter and I are still here in our small apartment in Phoenix. He with his store, me with my dresses, celebrating every day as if it were a gift, because it is. Sometimes people ask me, "Miss Rose, don't you miss your children?" And I always answer the same thing. I miss the children they were, but not the adults they became. And it's the truth. Because my real children, the children I raised with love, died a long time ago. They were replaced by strangers who only saw in me a source of profit. And I cannot live crying for ghosts. I have to live for those who are here. For Walter, for my friends, for my clients, for this new life we built. If this story reached your ears, if you are hearing these words, I want you to know something. Sometimes family betrays you. Sometimes the people who should love you are the ones who hurt you the most. And when that happens, you don't have to stay. You don't have to endure. You don't have to sacrifice yourself. You have permission to leave. You have permission to build a new life. You have permission to choose yourself. Because true love never asks you to lose your dignity. True love never manipulates you. True love never uses you. And if what you have isn't true love, then you aren't losing anything by letting it go. Today I am making coffee in my kitchen. Walter is at the store. I have 3 dresses to finish this week, and tonight we are going to dinner with Stella and her sister. It's a simple life, but it's my life, and I wouldn't change it for anything. To my children, if someday you hear this, I want you to know, I love you. I will always love you. But loving doesn't mean enduring, and I hope someday you understand that. I hope someday you can look back and see the mistake you made not for me, but for yourselves. Because the life you have now is the result of the decisions you made, and only you can change that. And to you listening to me, I just say, don't let anyone take your dignity. Don't let anyone take your peace. Don't let anyone take your freedom. Because in the end, that is the only thing you really have, and that is the only thing that really matters. Thank you for listening to me until the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and ring the bell to hear more stories of women who transformed their pain into wisdom. Every day, a woman, a life lesson. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes a story like this can change a whole day. God bless you, and until next time.